Clearing close in the forest you'll find a fabulous banquet, a fairy ball. If you close your eyes and you open your mind, the veil disappears and you see it all.
Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and for today's video I am extra super excited because I figured even though I have so many different paranormal cases and real life cases and just overall fascinating content that I'm bringing forth for you guys this coming week, I wanted to kind of sit back, get very true to how my channel began, which was by me sharing my own personal paranormal experiences. And so for that reason, I decided that for today's video, we would just sit down and I would share with you guys a pretty spooky experience that happened to me last month in Kingston, where I literally saw the spirit of a child as though I was seeing rather a real person. Well, kind of. We'll get into why it's kind of in a minute, but it's a really spooky story. It's a real experience that I went through, and today I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I thought, why not just come, sit down, share a personal paranormal experience with you guys, and just talk it out. Also, I would very quickly like to note that when I looked over to my viewfinder, I got major 13 going on 30 vibes from this hair. Definitely wasn't my intention, but that's the vibe that I'm getting now that I look in the viewfinder, so there's that. Before I get into today's story, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am so glad you guys are enjoying the new audio and the new background. I love that a lot of you felt the same homey, cozy feel that I get from this background, and I'm just really excited to continue creating content for you guys and making sure that each day and each upload that goes by, my content is improving and getting better for you guys, because I love you guys so much and I love nothing more than creating quality content for you guys. So without further ado, let's just dive right on into this story. It's not a super long one, but it is spooky nonetheless, and I'm really interested to hear your guys' specific theories surrounding my experience. So like I said, last month, my mom and our cousin Sarah and we all headed out to Kingston to bring you guys some exploring content and really share with you guys certain haunted locations within Kingston in itself. Now, one thing that was really crazy and super fascinating about Kingston is, aside from the history and Skeleton Park and the Haunted Walk and all of the crazy and scary and spooky and incredible haunted stuff that goes on there, one thing that I found really fascinating is there seemed to be a lot of haunted houses and a lot of haunted hotels. So initially, my goal when we were heading out there was that we would do or see a bunch of different haunted locations during the day, and then each night try to sleep in an incredibly haunted hotel / home. So I lined it up in a way where that was going to be the case, and on our first night, I believe it was our first night, we were going to stay in this super creepy looking, history filled, and just fascinating paranormal location. I was really excited to film there. I was really excited to bring you guys that content. When we arrived there, we were met by all of the working staff and the management, and they were so sweet to us. I had made it very clear what my intentions were with being there, and nothing was ever said to me as far as that not being feasible or able to happen. We initially went into one room, which we thought was going to be the room that we were going to stay in, and Sarah made a comment saying that she didn't feel anything there, that she didn't feel any presence, she didn't feel like there was really anything there, but this room had one bed and there was 3 of us, and we had booked a room with 2 beds. So we went down, made the changes, and moved to a different room, which definitely had a spooky vibe. Now, the only video that I wound up getting in this specific location was the prank that both Sarah and I did on my mom, which had to do with a ghost child. The big reason that this was so spooky and this was such a big prank was because this hotel was known for crying children and individuals seeing children at the end of their bed. So that's how that whole idea of the prank manifested. Long story short, we weren't able to do any sort of paranormal investigation in there. We weren't able to use a spirit box because at around 9 or 10 p.m. they decided to let me know that they weren't down with me filming there, which I totally can respect and I totally understand. Although I did make my intentions very clear, and it was kind of strange to me that they would let me know that I wasn't allowed to film there so late at night, but I understood respected the hotel and only filmed the one video of scaring my mom where you didn't know the name of the hotel and it was really unrecognizable, the location. So obviously a part of me was kind of disappointed that we weren't gonna get to utilize the spirit box in there and we weren't gonna get to really explore the grounds and see if it was haunted. But I didn't know what was going to occur that night that was gonna validate the hauntings of this space for me and really just leave me with so many questions. So like I said, this specific hotel was known for children. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, so you probably manifested what you're about to say that you saw, and that was probably already in your brain because you knew of children. But interestingly enough, there were other spirits that this space was known for as well. It wasn't just children. And to be quite honest with you, I was so exhausted from our day of travels that I don't believe I would have been woken up in such a way if it wasn't truly there. Because when I sleep, I am a deep sleeper. So we decided to finally get some rest after pranking my mom, and we're getting into bed. And my mom's bed was to the left of me and Sarah's bed was in the corner, which you guys would have briefly saw within that prank video, the layout. Now, I'm not somebody that's typically ever afraid in haunted locations. I might get nervous feelings, but I believe that negative spirits feed off of fear, and if you're gonna go into this, you kind of have to understand that fear will be the most detrimental thing to your investigation or the most detrimental thing to your experience, so it's good to just stay calm. One thing I should note is right before falling asleep, I felt this super unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach, to the point where I put on mukbang videos like really loud next to me in the bed so that like they would distract me from the feeling that I was feeling in the silence in the room. I was having the hardest time sleeping in this place, which anybody who knows me knows that I can fall asleep anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm a professional napper. I could be like wide awake in the afternoon and someone says you want to take a nap and I'm like, yeah, let's do it, and I fall asleep. So it was strange to me that I was tossing and turning, and every single time that I would start to fall asleep, I'm not sure if you guys have ever felt the feeling, but the feeling of being dropped or falling and your heart just stops and then you open your eyes and it wakes you up dead from falling asleep. This kept happening to me right when I would almost reach the point of falling asleep. I would literally feel this sense of falling, my heart would jump, and I would wake back up. And each and every time that I would wake back up, I would have this really, really strange feeling in my stomach and this strange feeling in the pit of my stomach. So I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm feeling really unsettled. Sarah's not getting any sleep either because almost every single time that I wake up and look over, she's awake as well, and there's really just no reason behind why I can't sleep and why I feel so unsettled. Okay, so I just checked on my phone and I do still have the conversation between my boyfriend and myself as far as what I'm about to see. So I will put the screenshot up on the screen so that you guys can see that this really did occur and I just haven't talked about it till now. Let me see what time exactly it was when I woke up. Okay, so I just started to fall asleep. I told him that I couldn't sleep and I was gonna try to fall asleep, and then at exactly 1:19, I was woken up by a ghosts. I had just finally fallen asleep and all of a sudden I heard this child's crying, almost. But it wasn't like a child crying presently in the room. Like I didn't mistake it for a real child crying. It was more so like a child crying in the distance, like an echo of a child crying. I opened up my eyes, and I know this is going to sound so crazy and so unbelievable, but would I be Hailey Reese if I didn't experience crazy, unbelievable things? Probably not. So I opened my eyes and I see, sounds funny, but it wasn't funny at the time. I see a floating baby head. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds crazy, but it was a glowing baby/child's head. And I say baby/child's head because it wasn't necessarily a newborn baby and it wasn't like a year-old baby, but it wasn't like a child either. It was like this hybrid combination of a baby-child head. And this head had no body, which is crazy because I've seen a lot of ghosts in my life and I have never seen just a head literally floating around like this. I opened my eyes to this glowing, it was almost like a whitish, bluish, glowing baby child head, which I know sounds so crazy, but okay. And it's floating around and it's just like bopping in these circles, and I'm staring at this, and then all of these other child baby heads are behind it. And I'm staring at this, expecting it to like disappear, expecting that I just am having a terrible sleep, so I'm hallucinating. And I rub my eyes and I'm looking, and this floating baby head is still there. I didn't necessarily feel afraid in the sense that this thing was going to hurt me, but for some reason, I felt scared, which is so unusual because I've seen a lot of ghosts in my lifetime. This was just such an odd and strange experience to the point where I was actually excited to leave this place. So I flick on the light and the baby head starts to like fade away, and I go, Sarah. And Sarah goes, what? And I said, I just saw a floating baby head and floating baby heads. And she literally says, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, go back to sleep, you're fine. The next day, she asks me, do you remember telling me you saw a floating baby child head? And I'm like, I honest to goodness did. I'm gonna post up on the screen here the conversation between my boyfriend and I. He wrote me and said, sweetest dreams. And I wrote him back and said, and that was at 12:20. At 1:19, I replied, I just woke up by a ghost. So scary, I can't wait to leave this place, LOL. He says, what do you mean? I said, I woke up to a bunch of floating baby heads around the room, and they didn't go away when I saw them. He goes, that's scary. I said, right? So that was my conversation, my text conversation back from, let's see exactly the date. It was October 10th. The next day, I tell my mom this whole experience, and I remind Sarah that I wasn't sleep talking, because I do that, and that I really did see these floating baby heads and the floating baby head. And I told her I just had an absolutely terrible, awful sleep, and then I was woken up to this. And Sarah told me she had an awful sleep as well. She kept feeling like shadows around the room, and she kept, like, every time she was falling asleep, waking up. With that being said, my mother is like a good sleeper, and she didn't have any experiences throughout the night. But for some reason, the echoes of the crying and the floating baby child head, along with the other floating baby child heads, was just something that left me with a very unsettling, uncomfortable feeling. I've never in my life seen just a floating head, especially when you're staring at it for a good 5 minutes and you're completely awake at this point and it's not disappearing. It's not just going away. It was just really chilling and made me feel really, really uncomfortable. So I figured I would share that story with you guys. Like I said, it wasn't a super long one and it wasn't the most crazy thing to happen, but it was spooky, and it was crazy to me that it just didn't disappear. Like, there have been times where I've woken up to a shadow in the room or a figure in the room, and when you wake up and you really look, it disappears. This was just like a glowing child's head with like an echoing of child's crying. I don't know, you guys, what do you think of this specific experience? What do you guys think happened? Why do you think it was just a head? Please, please, please drop all of your theories and comments down below, because I love reading all of your guys' thoughts on these things. But that is what I experienced in Kingston. Well, you guys, that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this mini story time. I kind of just felt like sitting down and talking with you and sharing an experience as though I were talking to one of my best friends, because you guys are like my friends and family, and it's just nice to sit down and talk with you all. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post a ton of videos and we would love to have you here if you do enjoy my content, so please do that. Also, please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It makes my heart super, super happy when you guys do that, so please do that. And that is it for today's video. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.